Larry doesn't realize he's still muted. Larry is.
I thought it was me. I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to screw up the show again.
Muted. I had a whole.
You looked like you could hear him, so I was like, oh man, I did it again. What's going on? It was just working. You had me panicking, funny. Larry. Don't do that.
Yeah, he's executing to the level of the Maryland football team right now. So
I had this whole
that
funny
was not
intro.
To the standard, Larry. That was not the standard. Is the standard.
And that's right.
Was not the standard.
That was not up to the standard, Lawrence.
It was not up to the standard. I made a joke about how the game was awesome and how all the stars came out to play and they won 4-0 against Ghana.
That's right.
And then I was like all excited and you guys didn't respond and I'm going, nothing, Paul? Like what? You're not backing me up here? Like what's going on?
I wouldn't have responded either way to that.
I know. Well, you would have made.
I just love that. Like Larry's always the one. Make sure you mute. Make sure you mute. Make sure you unmute. And then like he's the one who doesn't do it.
But he looked really animated though, so I was like, damn, I'm missing out on a good. Like I think I saw Ric Flair style woo in there somewhere. If I was reading.
Yeah, there was definitely some exuberance. I like it.
4-0 win is a big win. All the big names scored. Everything was good. That's why I was trying to provide some energy and excitement. I'm not just sitting here. Who wants to see a boring?
And we love that about you, Larry.
Yeah, well,
somebody's got to be the positive one because
you're not, Paul.
There's not a lot of that going on right now.
There is stuff going on.
Right into that, right into football.
Look,
we might as well just get it over with because we're gonna have Walt here soon, and maybe Larry wants to explain. We have a magical guest tonight.
It would not be IMS Radio without some slight technical difficulty, which I was the one who provided at the beginning of the show.
Yep.
And it would not be IMS Radio without our favorite guest of all time, right?
Oh, Naki's up there pretty high too.
Naki's up there too, but in a different way, he's a favorite guest. Yeah. Naki always brings the heat in a different way. Walt just brings pure, it's just joy with Walt. It's joy and it's entertainment and it's fun.
Always happy.
Yes, he's a legend. And you see my headline. It's in honor of Walt. It just says beep for those of you listening for those of you listening and not watching. I guess Paul.
It's like that's our oldest inside joke maybe on the show.
Yeah.
Like 9 years in here.
Yeah.
Rothstein. What percentage of listeners right now do you think?
Norlander, those are old jokes. I think they do.
Most of our regulars, I would think, know the beef story.
Say 20%.
Paul's headline says, "Embracing the horror of Maryland football."
That's right. The horror of a potential 7-5 season, which we were too good for last week. Y'all could have just listened to me and seen this train wreck coming. But I don't know. You live your life, I guess.
Listen, we give percent chances, and I had 80%. That means you don't win 100% of the time. And of the 4 games that they had where they were about 75, 80%, they won 3 out of 4. It's about right. It sucks that they won the first 3 and had a chance to win all 4, but it's about right.
Right. I'm seeing all these people saying, "Oh, that's it. They're not winning another game. They'll be lucky."
I don't believe that.
To get to 6. I think people are overreacting based on one bad performance. Not to make excuses for them. It was a terrible performance, but it was also a setup. Even before the game, we said, you got to avoid that hangover coming off of Ohio State. The emotional letdown, and then also like the lack of. It's going to be a dreary day without a lot of fans in the stands. So you got to generate. They still should have won by 10 points at least, but they're not as bad. They're not as good as they looked in some of those other games at times. They're not as bad as they looked then. I still think if you put an over-under, eliminate Michigan and Penn State for a minute because we all know that you're hoping for that to happen, but you can't really put any odds on it because, we do put percentages on it, but, putting those aside in the other 3 games, I still feel like the over-under and wins in those 3 games, Nebraska, Rutgers and Northwestern is 1.5. I still feel like they win 1 to 2 of those games.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think I lowered my percentages just because I'm a Maryland fan, and that's what we do. But I don't think this team is really all that different than it was before this game. I think if Caden Prather decides to go ahead and not fumble that ball before going in for a touchdown, Terps go in 21-7, and that game is over. Over.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's as simple as it is. But, going into this game when you knew there was going to be a shitty crowd and shitty weather and a hangover game after Ohio State, looking ahead to a bye, some key guys out who are injured, and then playing another one of those talentless Big Ten West teams that just throw like hordes of like high school state wrestling champions at you. It was going to be a game that Maryland, in terms of matchups, let alone all the other mental stuff, just is never, ever good in those games. If they win them, they scrap them out. It was never going to be like a 41-7 kind of deal, especially with all those other things going on. And they got beat. They got straight up beat. They got punched in the face, beat. And it sucks. But, again, I got the long view on this, man. You give me a 7-5, I'm still pretty happy. I don't care. I'm a Maryland football fan. I've experienced this a long time. Y'all sitting here talking about Rose Bowls and Florida New Year's Bowls. Those would be great, but, settle down, man. We don't do this. This is who we are.
I'm good with Longview, too, as well. And I just kind of think of other programs that have built for success long term. I always look at Virginia Tech and what happened with Frank Beamer. His first 5 years were really bad. I think it was 5 years. If you go look at their history with him, he would have been fired. He would not have gotten a sixth season. In the sixth season is when things took off, and then they had that 15 years of the whatever they were. Yeah, amazing team for 15 years. But the first 5 years were awful. And when you talk about building long term, getting to the stage that Maryland's at now, hanging here for a little bit isn't that bad, as long as if you can feel like any kind of progress above that afterward. Paul, you're content staying there forever. I want more than that. I'm content with the program building.
No, don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying I'm content staying here forever. I just understand if that is our level. I hope it's not, and I wouldn't, I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, give that guy a, $7 million raise for going 6-6 every year. Just, I've been around the block. This ain't my first rodeo, man. This is who we are. We can't fill a stadium. We can't fill our own stadium.
Forget about Phil. It's
no matter what. Yeah, we can't even fill the lower bowl because
it's crazy.
I've read complaints about Maryland fans. The problem with Maryland fans is that Maryland fans are well-adjusted, normal people. And you need psychopaths and cultists in this game to sit there in that miserable ass weather against a miserable team when there's a million other fun things going on, and to do that. And people aren't going to do it here. They're just not going to do it. There aren't enough people, and the people that are there, hell, I missed the game. I went to a U.S. soccer game in Hartford, Connecticut. You think I wanted to go to Hartford, Connecticut? That was like a one-time thing. It happened to be the same day. I don't feel any regret about that. I really didn't feel any regret after seeing the score. But people around here, you don't live in Peoria or some little town in the middle of nowhere where this is your life.
I wrote this on the site the other day in a discussion about this. For Maryland fans, it's transactional. They have a pro sports mindset. They mostly come from the DMV, Baltimore, New York, New Jersey. So they have a transactional pro sports mindset where you got to earn my ticket purchase. If you're good, I'll come out. If you're not, you won't. That's, in the Big Ten, most places are not like that. It is your civic duty to support the team. And so, that's the same cultural clash that we knew, would occur when they went to the Big Ten, but it's just been really pronounced with football. And it's a little unusual because they've been winning the past few years. Obviously, I'm not blind. The issue is that they haven't beaten, the big games have been really bad results, obviously, but still, it's been a winning team going to bowls every year. I wouldn't expect it would be packed and raucous every weekend, but it's a little surprising how hard it is to get people out.
But that's also why I'm talking about long-term program building. The students are coming out. that's going to pay dividends in many years. They weren't coming out before. That's going to pay dividends when the students are going to remember going to games and winning a bunch of them and looking good and having some winning seasons. And like when you're talking about long-term program building, being a bowl team for this is hopefully the third year in a row. And if you can get 4 and 5, and then all of a sudden Maryland is not the team that gets stomped on every year. Maryland's a bowl team every year. Like, and that once you get to that mindset, it's a different view of the program, and things can change from there again. Then you can go to the next level.
I think there's something to that. I think Maryland's not working with a base that a lot of other schools are. Like Jeff said, you got to earn it every freaking year, every time. So you'd have to build a new base or convince people who are transactional to become kind of lifers, right? And yeah, I do believe if Maryland they've had such instability in terms of coaches and results, since Ralph Regin left. If Locks can stay here for a decade and just become like, a Minnesota level team, a team that's going to be in a bowl almost every year, make a run every once in a while.
Feels like what it is becoming.
Well, yeah, and I would consider that a success. I mean,
right,
that's not that's
from
not
where
like
they were.
Right. That's not like what I want, but it's still a success, and it's a legit. Yeah, it's a legitimate base that you can start to build things off of. Because this is a ocean liner, man. It's not turning on a dime. So like I'm not
to beat one of those big dogs, beat one of them, and next year show that they can still win without Talia. That's it, man. Just beat one of those teams, somehow pull it out. They're going to be double-digit underdogs probably both games, I would think. Just somehow find a way.
Definitely
find a way. Beat one of them. All these people who and. Half those people who've been saying, "Oh, they don't beat anybody good. Every time it's a big game, they lose." Half those people, if they beat one of them, they still won't come out. They'll just talk about traffic or whatever. But
some percentage will though, and those
there are gettable people out there.
Oh,
there are plenty of people who will go out if you show them something, and it's just ludicrous that Maryland hasn't lucked into one of these wins just by default. I mean, that Ohio State game a couple years ago against Haskins and Ohio State, that was probably the one they should have gotten. But then maybe they hire Matt Canada as head coach, and that's not the right move either. So I don't know.
They love them in Pittsburgh, don't they?
Yeah, big fans, right? So I don't know, man. It's tough to deal with, and for the people that show up, I mean, I'm one of you most of the time, and believe me, I understand, and I'm just as mad as everyone else. When it happens, just, I'm not going to let myself get so hyped up only to get put down, man. We're the Kings of September. The second that clock turns to October, we turn into a pumpkin. And until we stop doing that.
And everybody talking about how high the expectations were for this team, and they did what they blew, this and that. But the only reason for that really is because of that one quote by Locks about how they're ready to compete for Big Ten championships. Otherwise, the wins total from the odds makers was what, 5.5?
Yeah, and I think it might have been 6.5 in most books, but I mean, I think all of us here were mostly thinking, okay, 7-5, maybe 8-4 if everything falls right.
I'm thinking 8 or 9. 8 or 9 is what I was thinking.
Yeah, and obviously the schedule turned out to be weaker than we thought it would be coming into the season, so. There are reasons to be disappointed if they only end up at 7-5, but I tell people all the time in terms of game day experiences and things like that, like going to these little bowl games is fun. If you went to the Pinstripe or the Mayo Bowl the last couple of years and you didn't have fun, you're the problem.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun at both those games. I highly recommend it. And Maryland, in all likelihood, is going to be going to a bowl game again. And everybody listening, just come. Just make plans to come do it. Hang out with us. It's so fun. It becomes a little group. You're kind of bonded with the people that you meet there, and it's an awesome experience. So, yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I really do. I think a lot of people aren't willing to kind of take that next step in their fandom, and you really should, man. Especially if it's a nice, easy, drivable trip. Like those things. They're made fun of online incessantly, mostly by fan bases that are used to going to the big boy bowls, but I mean, These things are
no,
fun.
They're made fun of online mostly by Maryland fans. If you saw our Facebook page since that Illinois loss, it does not matter what the article is, what the video is. It's just immediately 10. Oh, well, season's over. Oh, they're the same fluke as always. Oh, fire Loxley. Yeah. It is the negativity. I mean, it was a disappointing loss, but the negativity is really it's really something.
Yeah, and like none of those fucking people are season ticket holders, so I have no interest in your opinion, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, we have to care about their opinion because they're the exact people that, if Maryland won, would start coming to the games.
I don't know.
You want to win them over.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to win them over. You do want to win them over. You do. It reminds me.
I want to. I'm not. I think these people that like make it their job to just complain about everything all over the internet, they're never going to a game. They're not interested. They're just enjoying
Empires.
Yeah.
Walt's running late. He just texted. He is going to be here for everybody. So he said, "Give me a second."
I was going to say, hold on. I mentioned this earlier, but I want to say, Larry, what are the odds when you were like, however old you were at the time, watching Walt Williams light it up at Maryland, that you ever thought you guys would be like basically best friends? Like, what?
He wasn't that much older.
You ever reflect on that? Like, wow.
He wasn't that much older, but yeah, I was in high school. He was a senior when I was a freshman. I went to Maryland at my freshman year, and he was a senior. So I looked up to him, and yeah, I watched in high school. I watched him at Maryland, and so yeah, I did.
Now you guys are like texting secrets to each other. And
yeah, I mean, we don't ask Jeff to get Walt Williams on the show. We ask Larry.
No, that's a Larry connect. That's a Larry connect. They're pretty tight. I want to see like a buddy flick with Larry and Walt Williams. I would pay so much money to see a buddy flick.
Buddy cops or something.
Oh my god, it would be freaking amazing.
Ooh, like Larry and Walt Williams, like working on the NCAA NIL task force, just like shaking down schools and.
Yeah, I got to see that.
Oh, I'd be in on that. I mean, there's no actors working right now, so they could, they need some reality TV programming.
There could not be a nicer guy. He's he's such a great guy. Like when all the laughing and joking that we do, that's just him, man. That's him for real. So
Larry
I envy people like that with that kind of disposition at all times.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty happy if I made $100 million in the NBA and had successful businesses and whatnot. But I mean, obviously that's And Larry still has not brought me my bottle of Clutch vodka, even though we've seen each other multiple times.
Because I want to do it at a show. I want to do it at a show where we're at a live show. Present it. Yeah, it could be Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan. I'm not going to be at Penn State. I'm not going to be at the Penn State game. I'm going to be down at Elon. Andrew's got a big lead role in the show, so I'm going down for that. Sorry, that's more important for me. I got to go to that. But
see, another well-adjusted father and not cult member is going to see something that his son is doing instead of going to a football game.
If he was an Auburn fan, that wouldn't be the decision.
Exactly. Yeah. If Andrew would be doing his show and you tell him to take some pictures.
Well, I would have forced Andrew to play football probably then, right?
Yeah, right. That's true. That's a good point.
And he would have broken his neck.
I mean, but it's stupid. But
yeah. We were talking about, did we lose Paul there? Are you with me, Jeff?
I'm here.
Okay, Paul, you froze up for a second.
Oh, sorry.
One other thing that kind of remember, we were talking about the program building. There's another thing I always think about with the program building, which I'm going to get to in a minute because our boy just joined Walt Williams. We're going to switch to that. We're going to add him in. There he is.
What's happening?
Wizard himself.
Beep. Walt the Wizard.
What's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Good. I love the goatee. You didn't have that last time. Is that new?
No, man. It's brother.
Maybe it's just getting grayer, so it's like showing up more.
It's very much gray.
Me too, man. Me too.
I got the gray too.
It's getting grayer.
Yeah.
I've been doing this gray white thing since I was like 25, man. So like it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. How you guys been, man?
We're doing very good. We're kind of transitioning it from solely football season to now it becoming football and basketball season. They're not quite there yet. We got a couple weeks They have started scrimmages. They had the trip to Italy. Did you by chance? Did you go with them to Italy? Did you go?
I did not go to Italy, man. I had broken my leg, so I
Oh
was out of
no.
it. Wow. Yes.
What did you? I'm sure you heard intel about the team, though, right? About how was the trip? You must have heard about it, right? How?
I did not even hear about it.
Really?
So, yeah. So how you
Well,
guys
first off,
tell
how'd you
me,
break your
how did they
leg?
look
How did you
out
break
there?
your leg, Walt? Were you balling?
Yeah.
Were you trying to get back out on the
I
court?
was out there hooping, man. Had to show them young boys one more time.
I guess they showed you this time.
Somebody undercut you on a dunk?
No, I won. So
With the broken leg, he still won.
Absolutely.
Here's the question, though. You know what the question is.
It wasn't on a specific play. Just afterwards, man. When I was walking back to my house, my knee was just, my leg was just swollen and hurting like crazy.
Wow.
So when it actually happened, I didn't even, realize it.
That's
that
crazy.
adrenaline, man, it's something else.
It was the compression. It was the compression from those tall socks. That
do you have a cast on that's going up to your knee? Is the question.
You know it.
So you said you didn't hear anything about Italy. We did hear some stuff. You haven't heard anything? We heard some stuff. We heard the freshmen look really good. Are you hearing that as well?
Yeah, I have that. I heard that freshmen are looking really good out there, man. So, they expecting them to come in and they're gonna have a chance to come in and have an immediate impact because the team last year had a lot of guys that could play out there, but shooters to be able to open that space and have that spacing there, and that's where they were short. They fell short with having consistent shooters.
So you go into you guys.
No, I have not. I saw the kid Jonathan Lamont. I saw him in high school, but I haven't had a chance to see him play yet. Here
What
with
do you
the
think is a
Terps.
reasonable expectation for this year? After they obviously overperformed what everybody expected last year. Now it seems like you kind of need to take that another step forward.
I think they're going to have to be. I think starting out in the preseason, I think they're going to be a top 25 team. The number of guys they're returning. You're talking about Dante Scott, Jameer Young, Julian Reese. These are key pieces to the puzzle, and these are guys that been in the fire, and they're back again. And so, they have a combination of guys who've been in the fire returning. You got some young guys who can shoot the ball. You have some guys who are returning that need to be more consistent. Like a guy like Noah Batchelor, guy coming in here as a shooter. He's got to take another step and be somebody who can make an impact, And so we're going to see which one of these guys, because I think that's the key to it all. The guys who can come off, the new guys who can come into the game and shoot the ball. I think when we bring it back from last year, guys being able to just get buckets, be physical out there, I think we have that element. But the shooting piece, the new guys, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to step up there.
Hey, Walt, so Jameer was just all world for Maryland in the first 20, 25 games last season and really did start to tail off a bit towards the end of the season. Do you think that was just more of like a physical issue in terms of just, going from like a smaller conference to play in the Big Ten is obviously going to be a much more, a better competition, a lot of stuff going on, being counted on to lead the team. What do you think led to that? And how do you think he can avoid that this year?
Oh man, how is he 20 something? Are you kidding me? No, you don't get tired at 20 something. In the 20s, I don't even think I stretched really all that hard when I was 20 something. So I don't believe you getting tired or wore down any of that stuff right there. I just think that at this level right here, you put things on film. Guys are studying that. It's just at another level when you're playing in the Big Ten, and so the scouting, knowing what you're going to do, and so I think at the tail end of the season, he had a lot of footage people will be able to see what or survey the weaknesses as compared to his strengths, and I think that's what hurt him later in the season is that these teams made him play more to his weaknesses, and so now you got to be able to when you get to the basket. That's great that you're athletic and things like that, but in the Big Ten, and when you get to the end of the season, when that tournament time comes, when you get into the paint, it's going to be big guys there. You got to be able to see the floor and facilitate, and you got to be able to do that on a consistent level. Come back being a better shooter. So he got to tighten up a few things that's going to make him. Some things that if you got so many things in your bag, then the scouting report is not going to be able to take it away. And so he just got to add a few more things. That's it.
We're speaking with financial advisor Walt Williams.
Hey, and no, hold on, and award-winning hip hop artist.
And award-winning hip hop artist.
And purveyor of award-winning vodka.
Hey, listen,
Only man.
and my documentary, we won what is that, an Emmy or something Emmy, I think I got.
You want an Emmy?
Really?
Yeah,
you gotta tell us what's the Emmy,
man.
Imagine being Walter's like, oh man, hold up, I think I got an Emmy in my closet.
Yeah. Doesn't even
I'm
know.
not sure.
I
Let me
think
double check what it says on there.
just remind me one of my accolades,
Wait. What did you win an Emmy for, Walt? What is this again?
But it's a documentary that was done. We went to my where I grew up, Hollow Heights, in the back of my middle school, shot some footage there, and so yeah, it was it's a documentary they have, and yeah, won an Emmy off of that, man.
Can people see this? Where can people find it? Where?
Absolutely. I mean, wherever I think YouTube or whatever, it's all over. Yeah. If you YouTube the Walt Williams documentary,
we're gonna do that. I'm going to put the link in the description for the video. We'll do that.
I want the Emmy, man. I want
to see.
I want to see your whole collection.
I'm waiting on that part.
Yeah.
You're waiting.
So I think the filming guys, they got the trophies, man. So I don't have a trophy yet. So I'm waiting on that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you got to get them, at least get a nice replica over there.
Something, man. I need that replica.
So we are speaking to Renaissance man Walt Williams. And does a million things. Back to the basketball team a little bit. Last year, they were a tournament team. They were pretty good. Do you feel like they're better this year? It seems like on paper they are. Do you think they're going to be better, take a next step?
Yes, I think they're a better team. I think they're a better team this year than they were last year because, like I said, I think you have a guy like say Jameer Young. I think that he's going to be better. I think Julian Reese, he has a high ceiling. And so he is a very impactful player. Has many flaws that he can correct. So his ceiling is really high. And so you expect him to take another step as well. And Devontae Scott, so he's a veteran guy. You expect him to be physical and have some leadership out there with him. And I think that you surrounding them, those three guys, you have shooters around them, young guys who can shoot the ball. And so I think that's the key. You have a number of young guys that can shoot the ball, some transfers, some guys that can be physical and defend. But I think the biggest thing is that you got shooters now on this squad that can really fill it up. And I think that Coach Willard, he gets the max out of his teams, especially on the defensive end. We saw that last season, and so now you just got to add that skill set. You just got to be able to shoot the ball and spread that floor, be consistent in hitting open shots from the 3-point line. And once you can combine with the defensive prowess that they displayed last year, they should be a very good team.
Well, what do you think the biggest?
Julian Reese going to have to, and we still don't have, that depth in the interior. So it's going to be key that Julian Reese got out of foul trouble. So he got to take a step in that direction.
Yeah. Do you think that was a physical thing, like not being that? Because apparently he's put on about 20 pounds of muscle and looks like a completely different guy this year. Do you think that should help him, with the fouls a little bit, the foul issues?
Yes, I think that when you can be physical out there, that helps you in your lateral movements and all of that stuff. A lot of his foul trouble came from, he was just like a half a step behind in his reaction time. And
Yeah.
so now another year under his belt, stronger, can anticipate what's going to happen out there a little bit better. So now you can make movements ahead of time and things like that, be where you're supposed to be ahead of time or anticipating these things. So all of that starts to come into play. When you're just reactionary out there, it's just a high level of battle, and you get yourself out of position a lot of times, and that oftentimes causes fouls.
Hey, Walt, so you're in a unique position having played high-level basketball and knowing a little something about money. So what's it like for these kids with NIL these days? Like, imagine being in college and making a couple $100,000, right? And how that affects the locker room, your relationship to somebody else based on how much money you're making versus what they're making. Like, can you imagine living in this paradigm here now these kids are going through?
Yeah, well, let me first say this though with the NIL. I think that it's both sides of the table. There are some negatives, but I think there are some positives as well. I think that you see these kids, when you're playing, when you're a collegiate athlete, you can't on the side have odd jobs or whatever and make money, have money in your pocket and things like that. So I think this is a good thing for those athletes who are, quite honestly, they're the front porch of the university. So I think that they should get paid. I think that what NIL would do for professional athletes in the future is make them aware of what they need to do financially a little bit early on. So I think that now when you transition to the pros, it's not as big of a learning curve. I also think that in college now that a lot of guys, they leave because they want to get to that money. So now, if I have the money in college, maybe that entices these kids to stay in college longer. And but I think that is a negative side. These kids they change teams so often, and they really don't give themselves. And it's just going to the highest bidder, and you don't give yourselves a chance to establish yourself. But a lot of the times, these kids go into that recruiting portal, and it's not that they chasing the dollars; it's the coach asked them to. So now when you have kids that can making this money, you have a transfer portal where you can grab guys and bring them in immediately. You are creating a pro environment in college. So in the past, college coaches, scholarships has always been 1 year that you renew annually, but no coach wanted to have a reputation of, I give a kid a scholarship and then now I take it away, because everybody's impression is that when you give a scholarship, it's for 4 years. But now when we have a pro environment in college, I think you take that off the table now, and it's okay for the college coaches to go, I gave you a scholarship last year, but I don't think you can help my team. I need you to transfer. I don't think that's as much of a stigma for the coaches to do that. So that is when you create NIL and you create the money that you have here, and then you create a transfer portal where guys can go into there and play right away. It creates a pro environment in college, and I think the coaches adapt to that too. And then that part of the equation becomes a ruthless animal. So, but in terms of your teammates, for me, I couldn't imagine, being someone in the locker room where I'm making so much money and then my other teammates are not. And so, I don't know what you do in that situation. You can't turn it down. So, hey, maybe you hook your teammates up a little bit. Guys who don't have money, maybe you hook them up with every now and again, hanging out or
buy
whatever.
lunch or something.
So here's the question. Here's the obvious follow-up to that, Walt. That off season when Maryland was in all that turmoil, and you were thinking about your options, if the NIL and the portal was around then, would they have a Walt Williams UNLV jersey framed out in Vegas.
What are you talking about, Jeff? They did offer him money and he still stayed.
It was UNLV, man. Come on.
And now it would be a bidding war.
Come on,
It would be a bidding war of 20 schools trying to.
How much did Jerry Tarkanian offer you? Let's go. Come on out.
Come on, he's dead, right? He won't know.
Let's go. Come on.
Hey, UNLV just grabbed that bag from underneath on top, huh?
So we
don't have to draw too many agencies from that.
Well, if you're dodging the question, Walt, where would you end up? What would you have done? Say they were coming at, say it was.
I didn't get any offers from any schools. None of that stuff.
Okay.
None of that stuff happened for me.
Okay,
man,
Walt. Okay. Well,
it was strictly basketball.
We got a good question from our chat room. I'm going to pop this up. This is a really good one. It's from Mr. Popo. He says, does Walt see any similarities in how Willard and Gary Williams coach?
Yes, I do see some similarities. Just two off the bat is his ability to be able to gauge who I can be a little bit more aggressive with, as opposed to I gotta maybe hug him a little bit more or whatever. I think he is a good gauge of that. And then also adjustments, being able to see what's going on out in the game and then make adjustments. I thought Coach Williams was very underrated in that. And, people kind of gravitated to him being animated on the sidelines and things like that. But that dude made great adjustments out there. You know, he can adapt to what's going on, and he made great adjustments. And I see that Coach Willard is similar to that.
Walt, you know how we end every interview. We do fill in the blank. 5 rapid-fire questions.
Hey, you're breaking up, man. You're breaking up. All right, there we go.
Okay, 5 rapid-fire questions. Say the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
All right.
Here we go. By the end of the upcoming season, the best player on the team will be?
Jameer Young.
In the NCAA tournament, the Terps will make it to the round of?
Elite 8.
Oh,
okay.
Bold. All right.
All right.
We're going to come back to that.
If you were commissioner of college basketball, the first rule you would change would be?
Oh, man, that's tough right there. I don't know.
Like, you do something about the flopping to me.
Man, I don't know. It's something with the referees. We got to get those guys to curb their impact on the game, man. So something referee oriented.
If you were president of the United States, the first law you would change would be?
Oh, man, we got to give women their rights back. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
That would be the first. Yes.
All right.
Amen.
Last one. If you were as popular as Travis Kelce, the famous singer you'd date would be?
Oh, my God. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're married already or whatever.
No,
does that matter?
That's fine.
It's free for all. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe, of course, I'll choose like Beyonce or somebody, man.
All right. That was the first thing that popped in his head. That's why he asked, does it matter if they're married?
Right.
That was the first thing.
You don't want to be on Jay's bad side, man.
No.
What a few singers that have more money than you, Walt?
Absolutely, man. You gotta make it. Hey, we gotta upgrade me, man.
You're marrying up.
You gotta take the financial considerations, and
Dropping.
All right, Walt.
Yes.
Go Terps and
nobody else, man. You better believe it, man.
We're gonna go drink. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, I think this season is going to be fantastic. I think Jameer, he the point guard. He's going to be able to control this ship. But I think that Julian Reese is going to be a wild card. I think he's going to have a fantastic season on both ends. I think that kid can affect the game with both ends, the way he can rebound, block shots or alter shots. And, the way he is with his back to the basket. His face-up game got to get a little bit more tighter. But I think this kid is going to have a tremendous impact on the season this year. So I'm excited to see it.
Thank you, Walt, so much. Everybody
Love
go
it.
drink some Clutch vodka.
Clutch.
We'll see you in a little while. I'm sure we're going to have you back this season. And let's go Terps.
Hey, listen, we working on a deal now, man. So we're going to have some Clutch vodka. And hopefully we'll be able to contribute to some NIL to the NIL program.
Whoa!
Make
That's
it
what I'm
happen,
talking
man.
about.
So
Love
that's what we
that.
That's what we trying to get popping right now, man. So
Hey, when it
Something-
goes down, let us know. You know, I gotta have
absolutely, man. Absolutely, guys.
Thank you, Walt.
Yes.
My man.
Talk to you soon.
All right, be good.
See you, Walt.
All right.
Oh yes, let's get in on that.
That energy
Yeah.
is contagious, isn't it?
It's
Yeah, I mean,
contagious, yeah.
It's nice to. I said I mean I'm excited about basketball. Like it's this could be a really fun season. I mean, I guess the one thing I meant to ask about, and we just got carried away, which was fun. But can we get sophomore year Dante Scott this year? Because I kind of like, if you want like a harbinger between whether this team is like good in the way that they've been good most of the past decade or so, but not elite. Let me see Dante's stat line at the end of the year. If he's shooting 38% from three and putting up something like 12 and 8, I think this team would be really, really good. But
He's the X factor. You pretty much know what you have with the first two guys. If he can be those were 2 out of the 10 preseason all conference. They have 1/5 of the all conference players in those two guys. If he can be at that next level, just below that, that's a killer top 3. I will say I disagree with Walt on one thing. I think Julian Reese is going to be the best player on the team.
He did say that.
Yeah,
He said Jameer.
He said Jameer.
Oh, okay.
Which would be great because, again, you start talking about NCAA tournaments and Maryland not being able to get to these Sweet 16s very often. That's a guard's game, right? So you do, if Jameer ends up being a Big Ten Player of the Year candidate, having that kind of season, that is a thing that you want to happen. But I think Jeff is right. Like when you look at the way Julian finished that season last year, if he continues that trend, he is going to be unstoppable.
I really don't recall a guy at Maryland. I'm sure this happened elsewhere, but obviously I follow Maryland far more closely. Like I might have already said this, but progressing that fast during a season, it was unbelievable how much better he got in the last 2 months of the season. If he continues that, and they said, I talked to a guy today, a source who's been hanging around, and he said you wouldn't really recognize him. He's so much bigger, 20 more pounds of muscle, and he's just bullying guys in practice. So
there's a lot of
athleticism.
A lot of reporting about the practices being really physical. Like these guys, they really can only run them for an hour and a half because they're just beating each other up. So like it does feel like Willard started to install his philosophy as the type of guys he wants on this team, and guys are buying in. So there's a lot to, me, Mr. Optimism, but there is a lot to feel good about this, man. I'm telling you though, I just feel haunted by Ian Martinez. If you had one more wing player, still feels like the one thing that I'm a little scared about. I'd love if Noah Batcher all of a sudden shows up and can put up 8 a game or something in 15 minutes, but I'm not really counting on that. You know what I mean?
I think he can put up 8 a game. The question is on the other end of the court for him.
Yep.
It's funny though. So my sister's neighbors or lives close to the Kaiser family, knows them. Jamie Sr. coached my niece in sports, whatever. So she saw the team photo on Facebook and she said, Jamie looks small compared to the rest of the guys. How's that possible? And I was like, that's a good point. This is a massive team. You have 4 guys in that 7-foot range Braden Pierce probably won't play this year, but Reese, 6'10-ish, and then Swanton Rogers about 7 feet, Trey Orr is about 7 feet, and then Kaiser 6'7", Deshaun Harris-Smith, who's going to be playing some point guard and playing off the ball. Willard said 6'6" the other day. I don't know if he's 6'6" or 6'5".
6'5" at least, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever it is, they are massive compared to the size they had last year.
Which isn't necessarily good in college basketball these days. It'll certainly help in the Big Ten when you look at some of that you still got an Edey out there and you've got some big guys that you need to contend with in conference. But, college basketball has become so much a guard and a shooter's game, and that's where you're kind of looking, obviously you're expecting DHS is going to walk in and play a lot of minutes at the point and mostly at the 2. But then you got a lot of big guys and not a ton of athleticism in terms of, you got physical guys.
Well,
I have a lot of.
I mean, they added two. The question, these aren't going to be starters, so you're right in that respect. But they added two pretty sensational athletes. Yeah, Geronimo has like a 42-inch vertical. They've raved about him all offseason, about how athletic he is. That he has more offensive skill set than he was able to show at Illinois. How good of a rebounder he is. And then Traore is an athletic freak. We'll see how much he plays. I mean, as of like a month ago, the word was that he could play like 10 or 12 minutes a game.
Willard pumped the brakes a little bit on that.
He tempered that a little bit at media day. He said, I think he has the potential to be a superstar, but it's going to take time, which is no surprise. He's always been a upside guy more than a finished product. But Geronimo is really athletic, and Deshaun Harris-Smith is really athletic. So they upgraded pretty well, I'd say, when you compare to the guys who were playing last year. When you look at, Don Carey and Patrick Emilian were good players, but they weren't big-time athletes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with Geronimo, I just need to see it, and I didn't see any of it at Indiana in the, maybe 10 times I saw him play there. So it is what it is. But, like, I'd be happy. I'd be happy if he turned out to be a really, really good athletic swingman, especially defensively.
I think he'll be a significantly better Emilian. That's what I think.
You can live with that. You can live with that. Especially if Kaiser shows up and can shoot the ball a little bit. Those guys kind of split into three or maybe a small four every once in a while. Still worried about the guard depth, man. You're going to be counting on Jahari Long to keep hold things together, probably more than you'd like. And, I don't know where some of the guard scoring is going to come from if it's not just the Jameer and Harris-Smith show. But I don't know. I mean, every college basketball team has issues like this. It'll just be interesting to see how it work out.
Yeah, we had Kansas.
We had Jahari on the show, and he said he's coming. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that.
And to be fair, he played quite well in his time most of last year. I mean, he was certainly a perfectly competent guy. I think just when you look at this team again and thinking, okay, who's going to be able to shoot this ball? You're not looking at Jahari for that, right? So I guess college basketball has become such a guards game for me. It just really concerns me when you don't have like 3 or 4 guys you really feel like you can count on to score buckets. And I'm not sure that Maryland does at this point. That doesn't mean that can't change. We haven't seen him play yet. So,
and all that circles back around to Martinez, but we already rehashed that. So
yeah. I mean, whatever. I just feel bad for whoever is advising him is a moron, but that's another story.
I think it was just himself. I think even people close to him wanted him to go back to Maryland. It was just,
Yeah. I did not prepare an end of show segment for you guys. So what we're going to end with is
we can talk more about football. You want to do that?
We're going to have Jeff do recruiting, but before we do that, we are going to do Paul's favorite segment of the show, our non-revs report from Wheels. Here we go.
This is Wheels with your Inside Maryland Sports non-revenue report. Men's soccer tied Michigan State this past Sunday to extend their unbeaten streak to 3 games, but now they welcome number 2 Indiana to College Park on Friday in what looks to be a tough matchup. Women's soccer lost again this past Sunday at Iowa. They've now gone 8 games without a goal. They host number 21 Wisconsin this Thursday with the hopes of at least finding the back of the net. Women's golf finished 3rd out of 14 teams in the Mercedes-Benz Collegiate Championship in Tennessee this past weekend. They have 2 weeks off before they have their final fall tournament of the season.
Here we go.
Volleyball looks to break a 3-game losing streak in a just total brutal slog of a schedule in the Big Ten. They welcome Illinois on Friday. Finally, IMS had a chance to catch 2 men's lacrosse scrimmages this past weekend in a rainy Springfield High School in Delaware County outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Terps looked great in a 14-9 win over Harvard, and they looked great in a 15-12 win over a likely top 15 St. Joe's team. They head to Cornell this coming weekend for their final scrimmage of the fall season. Tune into the off-season lacrosse thread on IMS for updates. And that's our wrap on your IMS non-revenue report. Take care, everyone.
I have to give Wills props. He is intrepid. That man went out and watched preseason scrimmages to get a feel for the team.
That's crazy.
That's baller.
He's awesome. So
you know what?
nice
I always
job.
giggle to myself that like the two people out there who are listening and want news about the women's golf team are just listening to you guys talk shit the whole time while Wheels is trying to explain what's happening. I don't know why that makes me happy.
I didn't talk
just think
shit. I like the women's golf team. Remember, we've talked about them.
No, I know. Just like I couldn't hear what he was actually saying, and I'm just like, ooh, I know there's like one or two.
They
people
came
out there
in
probably
third
really
out of 14 in a tournament. That's what he
okay,
said.
that's not
That
bad.
was very good. Yes,
good.
the two Ludovicas. They were Ludovica Farina and Ludovica Scandrolio. I still remember the names.
Man,
And before them was Juliette Vong Fumi. You must remember her.
I remember Vong Fumi. Yeah,
If any of these women ever catch this show by the flukiest occurrence in history, how many restraining orders is Larry going to have?
yeah, them and that Madison girl from Austin.
No, it's not even.
Yeah.
But okay, 8 games now with no goals. Like,
Yeah, that's bad.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's bad is right.
That's bad.
I feel like you could be
That's
the worst
bad.
team on earth and you would still score
It's
a
crazy.
goal in 8 games. Like that's
that's really bad. So they should stop.
Something's
doing
going on with both the soccer programs. The men's team at least rebounded, but they have to win the Big Ten tournament to get into the national
that.
tournament.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, their RPI is too low. They just can't. They have to win the tournament to get in. But
Yeah,
they've turned it around. So
never
maybe.
count out Sasha, man.
Yeah.
Dude's a warlock. Weird stuff happens. Yeah.
3 national titles, right?
Yep. Or 4
That-
even. I don't know.
I think it's just 3.
It's at least 3.
There were 2 in a 4-year span back when in the aughts.
Yeah, and then one more recently.
One more
Right, yeah.
recently, yeah.
Yeah, there's the one that Joey Wilson was on, and then
Donovan
Charles.
Pines, right? Pines,
Yes.
Donovan
Yep.
was on the team.
Yeah, that was a great team.
Yeah, Jeff dropping knowledge here. There's no Joey Wilson.
Landon Donovan was really good for them.
That's
I
right.
recall. Did you guys watch the David Beckham Netflix documentary? Since you're
I
soccer fans,
No,
I did
okay.
not actually. Yeah.
it's not bad. You'd probably like it since you're soccer fans. There's a lot of behind the scenes from his career.
I like golden balls.
Okay.
If you're into U.S. soccer and MLS and whatnot, like he really did kind of change that paradigm
he did.
from being a real kind of farm team level thing to a respectable league. It's still not one of the top leagues, but like it's certainly
It will be, Paul. It will be.
He damn near probably doubled the eyeballs on MLS, and now that Messi's there, it's a whole.
Who
other
did
thing.
it again? Doubled
Yeah.
it
We
again.
better have doubled it for $100 million.
Oh, they're making their money.
Oh
that.
yeah, they're making their money back in
The jersey
in,
sales,
yeah.
the ticket sales, the Apple TV.
Yeah,
it's
everybody
insane.
everybody
Don't give
wins.
$100 million unless you know you're making it back in multiples.
Yeah.
We got a comment in the chat from Mr. Popo again. He confirmed that Sasha does have 3 national titles, and Maryland has 4 overall as a program.
Okay.
So
I thought I saw 4 crossbars. That's why I wasn't sure whether that was all
Pretty good,
Sasha's
pretty
or
good.
not. But
Another good question there, Larry.
Which one?
the last one, yes. So Robert Stevenson says, just catching up.
Oh yeah.
Did Walt say the comp between Gary and Willard is that both knew when to go easy on some players? Didn't know Gary had that in him. I don't know that Walt was saying Gary would go easy on guys. I think just if you've ever coached or been coached, clearly there are guys who can take hard coaching better than other guys who need to be pumped up and loved up a little bit. I think that's just what he was talking about, being able to kind of figure out guys' personalities and whether they would respond to kind of, being called all the things that Gary would call you, or just, being like, okay, you're working hard, you're doing the right stuff, keep at it, that kind of thing. I think just about anybody who's been on
Paul. Here's the
team
2
has seen that,
examples. Gravis Vasquez, it worked perfectly for. They had the same fiery spirit, turned him into a superstar. Mike Jones hated it, more laid back. It did not go well with him. And that's why, despite his talent, he sat on the bench till like his senior year. And I wrote up an interview of his a while ago, and he was saying exactly that the first 3 years, he just didn't know why Gary was so hard on him for the first 2 years and didn't respond to it well. And then he finally figured it out when he got good as a junior and senior.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, there was clearly, I mean, some guys are just not going to respond to certain coaches, certain ways that guys go about it. I mean, it just kind of is what it is. People are people, right? You have bosses that you enjoy, bosses that you might not enjoy. It doesn't mean they're a bad boss necessarily if they're good at what they do, but their personality might not mesh with you. It's the same kind of stuff. Just human interaction, man.
Going to finish the show with some recruiting for football and basketball. Before we do that, guys, we've had a very large increase in the number of subscribers. Thank you so much to everybody who's been doing that.
Means
people
a lot,
from the
man.
Message board, people from Facebook, from Twitter, from all over the place. Thank you guys so much. We still are hoping for more, so do us a favor. If you have not subscribed yet, just go ahead and click on that for us. Doesn't cost anything to do. You'll know every time we're going live. You'll know every time we do a show. That'll be
and guys, I know people get scared. Like you subscribe to something, you get a million emails stuff. You will get no emails. You will get nothing from anything. Just hit that little subscribe on YouTube so it pops up on your feed if we have a new episode. But they will not. Nobody's chasing you down or coming to your door. Unless that's what you want.
My site, and then I'm all up in your inbox on a daily basis.
Yeah, if you want it, you can click. There's a bell you can click, and you'll get a notification if you want to. But you don't.
But you got to choose to do that. Like if you want to do that, that's fine. If you just want to subscribe and forget we exist, we're very happy for that.
And give us a like on the video too, if you would. We got a bunch of people still listening. Jeff, let's do some recruiting. We'll start with football. A lot of players still coming this weekend, or was it last weekend that they came? Yeah, because they're
I don't know what they're doing this weekend.
Yeah. Last weekend they came a lot more, right? How's that all going with the final ending of 2024?
Last year they had a lot of good players. It was a little bit lighter crowd than it's been because there were a few big games elsewhere. I think several locals went to the South Carolina, Florida game. Probably not a bad thing if you're Maryland, considering the results. So, they've had like several of the top locals there week after week after week. Question obviously is, who are you going to flip? Same thing we discuss every week, but no big breaking news or anything like that. No new commitments. And like I said last week, the class is getting up now into that 20 level. So you're only going to take a handful more and you're going to save most of those spots for these guys that you want to flip. I think I've written on the site, I think that it's a matter of when, not if, on one of those guys that they're definitely going to flip. And then another guy who's a 4-star, I think they have a great shot. Actually, there's 2 4-stars. I think they have great shots at flipping. So, if you get a few of those guys, maybe you can get into that right around that top 25 range on signing day.
That'd be great. And basketball recruiting.
Is there anything going on in basketball recruiting this weekend? It just seems pretty, just nothing happening at all, really.
Yeah, no, everybody's just sleeping in, watching football.
Yeah.
When Derek Queen is coming this weekend, as you probably know by now, if you have any interest whatsoever in Maryland basketball recruiting. It's his second official visit to Maryland. Now players can take multiple officials to the same school. He visited last year officially. That was back when we thought there was a chance he would reclassify and maybe commit, as a current freshman. Didn't happen. This is his final visit. I think he'll decide, likely within the next few weeks or month, roughly. You never know for sure. But, it's pretty much down to Maryland, Indiana, Kansas, Houston, and LSU.
And percent chance for Maryland?
70.
That's higher than I thought you were going to say. That's pretty good. I like that.
It does it. Let me cut you off and just add to that. Does it feel like, at least whispers wise, he's a local. A lot of people are know his crew and how that works out. Like, does it feel like the prior officials have changed the general stream of thought around his recruitment? He's always been considered a bit of a Maryland lean, or right around, at least Maryland leading, if not, above 50% chance of landing him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the only thing that's changed really in the past 2 months is that Houston has become a serious player, or at least we've come to realize. Maybe they were before that. Calvin Sampson has a close connection to his AAU director, former teammate there, Team Thrill. Jarris Walker went and played from last year, did well, was drafted in the first round. They have a good relationship. So that's probably been the only real shift. It's interesting because Indiana still seems to think everything coming out of there, I assume coming from the coaching staff, is that they feel like they have a really good chance. I don't know if that's the case. And then Kansas, you can never count them out. Bill Self has been doing NIL,
he's the most experienced NIL guy in college basketball.
Hall of Famer. And so, it's easy to discount them because they have the 5-star kid coming in, Badunga, at center. I can't see Queen going there when they already have another, but you just never know. Like, you never know with Kansas and their NIL. We saw that with Dickinson, obviously, but
where's he going to play?
I would still be surprised if it's Kansas, even with all that said. I don't think LSU is a serious player. I think probably it's going to be Maryland versus Houston, and I felt all along like Maryland has a great shot, and that hasn't changed.
So Indiana got McNeely, right? That's him and Queen are apparently close at Monteverde. And then did they get Boogie Fland, or is that still?
That's I think he announced his tomorrow this week. Yeah. Friday.
It's expected, right?
No, it's Indiana versus Kentucky, and there seems to be a lot of mystery. There's some smoke in Kentucky's favor lately, but Indiana's worked really hard on him and made him a priority, and they got surprisingly, I'm sure their NIL is much better than Kentucky's. Remember from the Dickinson saga, I reported Kentucky's NIL offer was not good.
Which is wild, by the way.
Yeah,
that's just absolutely insane. But yeah, I was just going to say, I can imagine Indiana feeling themselves a little bit, getting we got that 5-star kid coming in this year. And if they get Fland and McNeely, they're probably, I can understand their level of confidence.
Yeah. They're recruiting at a very high level lately.
Yeah.
Getting 5-star kids they weren't getting before. It's easy to see why they'd be confident. I have my doubts about whether he could end up there, but it's all, you just never know these days. I'm a broken record, but you never know what's going on behind the scenes, what kind of offers there are. I think if everybody knows what the current market value, what it is now, and then somebody at the last minute doubles or triples it, you just don't know.
When is football signing day?
December.
Yeah.
Second week of December, maybe.
So we still got a month and a half for that.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's a lot of time for locks to, we got like maybe 5 spots left, Jeff, something like that.
Probably
3 to 5. So you got plenty of time for locks to work his magic. Like Jeff said, there's already 2, I think, probably just about done in terms of flips, and then you got a lot of time to.
Still going after more offensive linemen. They're going to be playing 8 offensive linemen lineup in a couple of years. But
here's the thing, though, with offensive linemen, seems like just the type of position that would take advantage of the portal more than anybody else, right? Because who's going to stick around for 3 years to develop when they can just find somewhere else to play? So my assumption is that they're thinking, okay, well, let's just get these guys in, see what they look like next year, and then some of them they might even say, hey, go take a look.
Like Walt just said. Walt said the same thing. Like the coaches are asking them to go.
Right. And, but like I was going to say, if we had more time, it evens out the power structure too. Like that's good for the kid in a lot of ways too. Okay, kid, come to Maryland, see if you can hack it. And if you can't, go play down a level. And maybe by your junior or senior year, you might be playing at a better level than Maryland's at. So like it does give the kids some agency in a way that, before it was just like, oh, well, I gotta show this coach that I belong. And now it's like, well, maybe the coach doesn't think you belong, but maybe you don't think you belong either. And you can go find a place where you do. Yeah. So I think there are some,
that's one of the positives, but there's negatives.
Oh, there's tons of negatives, and we've discussed them plenty, but I think it does.
Don't get them started, Paul. Don't get them started.
I know. I was just going to say, I do think that it does need to be mentioned every once in a while that there are some positives that come from this whole mess.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't have, like I said, I don't have a game ending segment for you, like a show ending segment, a game or whatever for you
Football
guys.
game's still in your head, man. You're still watching that field goal kick, like just.
It didn't affect me that badly. Is that weird to say? I was watching it, and the whole time I'm like, don't lose this game. Come on. There's such an opportunity here to get to 8 wins, maybe 9. Like, don't lose this game. Don't lose this game. And then it happened, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go work on some music.
which is a full circle back to what you said earlier, right, Paul, about Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Problem Maryland fans is they're well adjusted and not.
It didn't ruin your week, which
and
means
Larry's a huge fan. And he's a huge fan. He's not a casual fan.
I mean, I think Larry's got a little bit of a battered wife syndrome, like I do, like in PTSD. It's like you've just seen this happen too many times, so like you can't put too much into each game because you just know you're going to get.
It's partially
kicked in the
that.
face.
It's partially that. It's partially. I swear I've said this, I think, to you guys before. It's partially playing poker, and like when you first start playing poker and you start dealing with losses and you just get livid, angry, and you get pissed, and you play bad, right? Because it's called going on tilt.
Yeah, you're not focused.
And it takes a lot to get over, at least for me it did, and some other people may have a different temperament, but I did get over that. And it took like years of playing to get over that. And that I've carried that into other parts of my life. Like when bad things happen, you have to, let it go, right? Like you focus on that bad thing just happened. Guess what? You go on tilt and you make more bad things happen, right?
Yeah,
so
there's a point where you got to let it wash over you.
Yeah, and it's just getting older. I'm 50. Yeah. I'm older. When I was younger, I would have thrown the remote at my TV.
It was kids for me. It was when I first started having kids,
too. Because
I was an absolute psychopath. And if Maryland lost like one basketball game, I would be done for 2 days.
Yep.
And like once I started having kids and like real like adult problems, it's been a whole lot easier for me to disassociate than it was before. And there's probably books about this type of thing, the psychology of it, and whatnot.
Tons of them.
It's disappointing. I'm disappointed. I would love for us to have that kind of year this year, and they still might. They might lose that game and go beat Michigan. I don't know, but
both teams have lost. Both teams, football and basketball, have lost a lot more in the past 15 years than the previous 15 years. So you're conditioned to it also.
That's true.
We've talked about many times. What if they go 9-3, but one of the wins is against the big three, right? That means one of the losses is against a team you shouldn't have lost to.
That's a jackpot.
Well, we're going back to I think Jeff's original hypothetical that people got all upset about was whether 8-4 with a win over the big boy was better than 9-3 without. Right? Was that what it was or something?
Yeah. I'll take 8-4 all day.
Yeah, I would take. I don't know. I think I would with 10. 10 is just such a magic number in football. If you get the bowl win too, I think it might be a little bit different. But it's not like anybody's who's going to be looking.
What we were talking about earlier, though, the average fan, the way to win them back is not by winning 9 games. It's getting that credibility and pride of beating Michigan or Penn State. So that's more valuable, I think, than just the number of the extra win in the win column.
I think it's not even just the beating; it's the not getting smoked. I mean,
which they didn't.
If they play Michigan and Penn State and lose by a touchdown or two, I think that plays differently than every year you're getting at least one of those or putting 50 on you. I mean, you can't do that. You just cannot. Yeah. You cannot survive that. So it's a combination of things, but that's certainly one of them. And I don't know. They still got their shot, right? So they're likely be bowl eligible in the next couple of weeks, and there's nothing wrong with that. And take what you can get, man. It's been a whole lot worse than this before.
It has. And then there's a bye week, and maybe we have a special show planned for that. We'll let you guys know if that happens. We'll be back regular Wednesday regardless. Either way, we're sticking to our regular Wednesday at 7:30 every week. So you guys know that. Show up. Join us live. It's a lot of fun.
Ask us questions. We'll take your questions.
You see every week we're popping them up on the screen now. The new software allows that. We're we're throwing them out to Jeff and to us and to the guests like Walt tonight. So yeah, we love it when you guys contribute. Yeah, so we'll be back next week.
Can't lose this weekend, boys.
Can't lose this week. Thank you guys. This has been IMS Radio. We'll see you guys next week.